Hello, Mr. Mason.
Hi.
Hi. In this radio show in Holland, we try to answer all sorts of questions from our listeners, such as why is it that people often have to pee when they get nervous, or whatever happened to Bubbles, Michael Jackson's chimpanzee. But we also receive
I can't help you with either of those.
Well, Bubbles is still alive. He's in Florida right now. But we also receive a lot of questions about Pink Floyd.
Right.
More than any band out there, which tells us maybe two things. One, that you have a very large fan base in Holland. And two, apparently the band is still surrounded by a lot of questions.
Yes, I think I should give you a warning at this stage then, that my daughter made me do the online Pink Floyd quiz, and I scored 56%.
And you're in Pink Floyd, so that's...
Exactly. So don't expect too much.
Well, I'm glad you're willing to answer some of our questions. For example, listener Krijn asks us, when and where did Pink Floyd first perform outside of the UK? What was your first gig abroad?
The first one would have been in America, because we went almost as soon as we were signed to the record company. We went off to America and we played in Bill Graham's Winterland. We were on the bill with Janis Joplin, Big Brother, and Richie Havens. So, yeah, that was fairly memorable.
Yeah, it seems that you were somewhat of an instant success in the UK and abroad. But what was it like when you went abroad? Were the venues full from the start? Were the people ready for Pink Floyd?
Yeah, I think they were. I think, in fact, that we probably had better audiences in Holland, Belgium and France than we did in quite a lot of England. I think in England they thought we were a pop group, which we're a disappointing pop group for people who were expecting a sort of string of hits. Whereas I think on the continent, people had heard about this sort of weird band and that whole sort of 60s psychedelic music idea, and so they were actually more tuned to what we were doing.
So maybe because of the drug scene in Holland as well?
Well, that's possible, yeah.
And what comes to mind when you think back to that tour and to those days in '67?
Great, because they were great. I mean, apart from anything else, great venues. What was it? The Paradiso, and what was the other one? More the sort of theatre type places, which I think are still around. Fantasia.
Oh, Fantasia, yeah. Don't think it still exists. You're coming to the Netherlands this year in May, playing the early years of Pink Floyd in Eindhoven. Do you still often think back to those early years? What do you miss the most?
It's very curious, actually, because it's something I'm very aware of, is that when we go out on stage with playing this music, it's remarkably similar to what it felt like 50 years ago. And it's terrific. It's great. And if you've got an enthusiastic audience as well, that makes it even better.
Yeah, what does it do to you when you see young kids in festivals wearing Pink Floyd T-shirts?
Well, I don't know. I put it down to bad parenting.
Might be. But yeah, what do you think? Pink Floyd still stands the test of time, maybe in comparison to other bands of the 60s, 70s?
I think sometimes it's to do with an appreciation of the lyrics, sometimes of the actual of the musicianship. You know, it's interesting that kids now will at school be doing grades where they're actually playing a Jimi Hendrix solo or an Eric Clapton solo.
Yeah. Jeroen asks us, what is the hardest Pink Floyd for you to drum?
Probably the most difficult piece for other people to play now would be Money, because of the curious time signature.
And what is your favorite song to drum?
Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. It's a track from SaucerfulOfSecrets.
Yeah, I read somewhere that is your favorite Pink Floyd album. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And why
definitely.
Is that?
Because I'd like the elements that it's got in it. It's slightly unusual. It's played with mallets rather than sticks, and there's plenty of room for improvisation.
67 was also the year that it became more and more difficult to work with Syd Barrett, who was so important for the band. How was he on that tour?
He was getting more and more difficult, almost sort of day by day. And eventually, in '68, he left the band because I don't think he actually wanted to be in a band anymore, which we thought was insane. A lot of people think it was due to too much LSD, but I think there may be other issues as well.
Yeah.
And in particular, sort of what he actually wanted to do.
Do you know what he wanted to do?
Well, I think he ended up living at home and painting, which is what he originally was going to do. But we really had very little dialogue with him after he'd gone.
And can you still remember the last time you saw him?
Oh, yes, because he came to the studio while we were recording Wish You Were Here in 1975, something like that. And I didn't recognize him.
I had read somewhere that he had shaved his eyebrows off.
Yeah, and he was... yeah, that's right. And no, he looked completely different, very overweight.
Yeah.
Quite scary.
Yeah, it is quite scary.
I think at the time I was in the studio recording or playing, and Syd was in the control room talking to Roger.
The one and only Nick Mason, drummer of Pink Floyd. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.